Welcome to the MPTF board meeting, and I'm here today with board member Hawk Koch, longtime board member Hawk Koch, and Chief Development Officer Courteney Bailey.
And you are?
And I'm Bob Beitcher, and I'm President and CEO. And usually an MPTF board meeting has more people than this, but we're very happy to have this very distinguished single guest with us today, Hawk. So Hawk, longtime industry member, distinguished producer, iconic member of the Producers Guild, responsible for the Producers Guild mark, along with some cohorts, former president of the Academy, and so on and so on. Give us a little bit of background on when you joined the board, but more important, why you joined the board.
Well, I think I joined the board about 20 years ago, and I'm thrilled that everybody still wants me on the board.
You had a 3-year term, as I recall. Yes.
There's no term limits, thank God. And why I joined the board is a whole different story. I grew up on movie sets. My father was a producer. He also was president of the Academy. We're the only second generation, which I'm kind of proud of. And he produced a lot of Oscar shows. But I grew up on movie sets, and the crew and the cast were my family, literally from 1950 on. I started as a PA, second AD, first AD, UPM, and then producer, and ran a major production company at one time. All of that was about being with the family, being with people who make the movies. As I'm sure people who are listening know, making movies is a collaborative effort. It isn't just the director, by far. And I love directors, don't get me wrong. But the grip and the electrician and the prop man and the production designer and the cinematographer and the sound mixer, everybody were all together. And I fell in love with crews when I was a little kid. The only place I could ever see my father was if I went to a movie set. And he was busy, so one summer I'd work with the grips, the electricians, the costumers, the prop man, the stunt men, the wranglers, because did a lot of Westerns. So I got to know everybody. And everybody says, wow, you worked with all these actors. And I went, yeah, but they were part of the crew. To me, those guys were no different than everybody else that was working to put it together. And my father was part of the Motion Picture Fund way before I was. And he brought me out here when I was younger. And I got to see that all these people who I worked with throughout my life were able to come to a place where in the latter years of their lives, they could enjoy the latter years of their lives. And then I found out through working for the fund that it wasn't just the home. The home is only a part of it. It's a good part of it, but all the other things that we do out at the fund, the financial areas that we help, the home where we take care of everybody in their own homes, home safe home, and we go out and volunteer and make a home safe for a man or a woman or a couple, so that they can live the rest of their lives there. Because the home only has a certain amount of area, and a lot of people want to stay in their own homes for the rest of their lives. The palliative care that we have out here, every single thing that the Motion Picture Fund has is near and dear to me. And I don't know how I was lucky enough, or it's tough to look at sometimes, but I've been on what we call the case committee for at least these 20 years, if not more. And we look at the hardships, and we look at people who need our help, whether it's financial or in some other ways. Our social workers, who are phenomenal, really we make decisions on helping them financially and helping them in whatever ways they need help. And I come out of those meetings just feeling I feel like I've done something important in my life. And I'm giving back to, I've been, fortunate enough to have a pretty good life in this business. And so giving back to the Motion Picture Fund is probably the best thing I can do.
So that culture of philanthropy, would you say your father really instilled that in you? Because you grew up with these crews and you saw beyond the credits and beyond the talent. But to give back, I think we're in a time now where people it's a tough industry, it's consolidating. What would you say to people about why it's so important to be a part of this safety net that takes care of its own?
Because you're going to be there one day. This is, we all need help. Nobody, I won't get into the one person who doesn't think he needs help. But
we all need help.
We all need help. You can cut that out, Jen, if you want. But we all need help in our lives. And I was taught early on that service is the best thing you can do. And it is the best feeling you can have. And whether you can give money because you have some money to give, or whether you can volunteer some of your time. I guarantee you that if you come out here and see the home or learn about what we do, you're going to go home and feel so much better about yourself and the help you can give our industry.
So, we have 12 board members other than myself. And the one thing that's always struck me about you in particular, and others to some extent or another, is this deep concern for the people MPTF helps, for the crew, for the people who, when the day starts, have been there for 2 hours and have schlepped in from long distances, who are there, several hours after wrap, who do the really hard work some days that allow movies and TV shows to get made. It's the background of growing up in the industry, you think, that drives that particular passion of yours?
Well, I understand. I understand what family means. This is my family.
This is our work family.
And if you think about it, you get there at 6, 7 in the morning, and you're there till 7, 8 o'clock at night. You go see your wife or your husband. You have dinner 2 hours. You go to sleep. You're there more than you are in your own family, except for the weekends, and sometimes you're working weekends. So yeah, this family is your life, and if you decide to be in the industry, or if you're in the industry, you know what I'm talking about. And there's kind of a mantra that I've used my whole life, which is show up. Mm-hmm. Show up for your family, your wife, your husband, your children, and show up for your neighbor, and show up for your coworker, and show up when there's a need. Show up. Don't shirk the responsibility.
I think for me, one of the strong messages from all of that is that not everyone in the industry works on a set. They work in offices, they work in talent agencies, law firms, whatever. But that's really the nuclear reactor. That's the core of where content gets created, which is the engine for everything else. So, I always say to people, understand you're not on the set. Understand you represent, a wonderfully talented, successful actor. Every day that actor is on the set working, there are 300, 400, 500 people who are making him or her a success. And those are the people. Your actor may not need our help, but those are the people who it's so critical for us to think about and support. Because without them, your person's going to be standing in front of a camera with no camera operator or crew and no lighting and no
Everything. Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are people who aren't on the set, but somehow they're proud of being in the entertainment industry, because they may not be the crew family, but they are family to all of us. And I know, when I'm producing, I'm not always, there's in between being on a set, and you're dealing with the assistants or the associates and the executives, and you're dealing with agents and lawyers more than you might like to deal with agents and lawyers. Although my youngest son is a very good entertainment attorney.
And he represents some really great talent, I understand.
And he does. He represents some great talent, and he's at Hanson Jacobson. But he's come to many of our events, and he shows up, which I think is something that I hope that I've given to my children.
I love hearing you talk about the intergenerational piece. I mean, your family is the great example of that. And one thing, I want you to think about a great story. I'm sure you have a million stories about specifics without getting into confidential details about someone you've helped or been a part of helping that really struck home with you. But first, let's just tell our audience here, what is the role of a board member? What do you feel your role is being on our board of directors and our social services governing body? But what's your function?
Well, my name is Hawk. So, as I was told by a rabbi, a hawk can see from horizon to horizon and also can see a squirrel a half a mile away. Wouldn't it be great if you could see the panoramic of your life and the detail always at the same time? Well, as a board member, you have to see the panoramic of the whole of what we do, and you also have to see the detail of what each thing that we're trying to accomplish and how to get there. Mm-hmm. So I would say most important board member is to, A, be conscious. Mm-hmm. Be conscious of what it is and why we're there. And then look at the whole of what we're doing and then say, okay, how do we get, when you can see the whole pie, but you got to start with the apples,
the ingredients,
and the flour. Exactly. Mm-hmm. You got to start with all of that first. Mm-hmm. So, and I think not to toot Bob's horn too much, because he's,
Yeah, we've got plenty of time. So yeah.
But he's really done a phenomenal job, because I was on the board when Bob wasn't here, and there were some real problems, and there was some times where we didn't have a CEO who put a lot of thought into really where we needed to be and why we needed to do what we did. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really proud of how far the fund has come since Bob has been there. And I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No, that's a great answer. I mean, I feel honored just to be honestly in this room with you too. And I'm a rookie to MPTF. I'm not even a year in, but the leadership with Bob and your vision and the other board members, it's unbelievable, the sense of family in this industry.
And I want you asked me a question if I can confidentially.
Yeah.
The perfect one doesn't have to be confidential, because it's my mother.
Great.
My mother, we lost my dad in 2001, and in I think it was 2005 or 6, my mother was living alone in Westwood in one of those high rises, all by herself. And
Wilshire Corridor.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And she was unhappy. I mean, she was always unhappy from the time my dad passed away, but she was unhappy, and she was lonely up in her place by herself. Yeah, she went and had lunch with a friend if the friend was still alive, and I said to her, Mom, let me bring you out to the motion picture home, because I think you'd enjoy it out there. It's a community. Mm. There are people. And she said, oh, I don't know. Do you think, it's way out in Woodland Hills, And I said, well, why don't you let me take you to lunch? So we came out here, and I took her to lunch at the Stark Villas, and we're sitting there, and she said, wow, this is nice, and she, oh, Miriam. Hi, Miriam. And all of a sudden she knew Miriam.
Community.
And then she knew Jerry, and then she knew, all of a sudden, She wasn't sitting with me. She was going around talking to all of her friends who she had known throughout her life. She moved in here, and she was here for the rest of her life. And she absolutely loved it, whether it was going to the Jodie Foster pool or working out or watching movies in the Gary Martin Theater, or whatever. And God forbid she had any kind of health problems, boom, there was somebody there within seconds, not minutes, seconds. And for me, it was such a stress relief, because if she had something wrong in the Wilshire corridor and I'm at Paramount, I mean, just to get to UCLA emergency was luckily I didn't get any car accidents.
Right.
Because it's tremendous stress, relieved the stress, and she loved it. So that to me is the best story I can tell for the home.
What I love most about that story is not only was your mom taken care of, but it was a service to you as well, right? That peace of mind to know. And I think people think in the future, I'll be, hopefully, maybe I can be a part of the home or take advantage of the services. But they don't realize these services are here for you now. You don't have to simply be retired or in need of a solution to social isolation when you're 80, 90, whatever it might be. But this helped you.
Yeah.
And talk about that a little bit more about you. I'm sure you've seen that many times, the peace of mind in helping others and how that indirect service really impacts you.
As I said before, it's service. It's the feeling you get. I mean, the old story. Do you ever see somebody help the old lady across the street? Mm-hmm. And when you get to the other side of the street, and the little old lady looks up to you and says, "Thank you so much." For me, I got a tear in my eye. Wow, I was able to do something for somebody else.
I think Bob does that every day at Mulholland. Helps someone across the street.
Because I know one day it'll be me. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I come out here a lot. I bring people out and ask them. Bob and somebody else gives them a tour of the place, and they go back and say, "Oh my God!" I mean, I live in Ojai now, and 3 people from Ojai. One's an Academy Award nominated actress, and 2 others have nothing to do in the business, but they came up here just to understand this, the daily call sheet, which is fantastic. And they all came back to Ojai. I said, "Oh my God, thank you so much. This is fantastic." And I think Kathleen's already doing it. This one.
And your sister-in-law is
my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, loves it and is on the phone constantly with people. Maybe you want to explain what the daily call sheet is, so that they said, what's Hawk talking about?
Sure. So the daily call sheet is an incredible program that we have that can scale for other industries, but it's a simple solution to a tremendous problem. And social isolation, we talk all the time, is like smoking 12 cigarettes a day for your health. It is that bad. And it's an epidemic across the country. So we have this program where it costs you nothing. It costs you the time of a phone call. So if you're driving a lot, which we do, driving to Woodland Hills, driving across LA, somebody might be at their home and not talk to another human being for a week. So what we do is we identify people who are lonely. We don't say that to their face. "Hey, Hawk, we hear you're lonely. You need a call." But we know that people self-identify and they want a friend. So people volunteer to once a week pick up the phone. I know Carol, Bob's wife, does it. I'm going to sign up.
More than once a week, by the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes, exactly. It's more than once a week. And it's that phone call, it's that kinship, it's community, and it's keeping the conversation going and making people feel relevant. It's fantastic.
And you make the first call, and you talk to somebody, and all of a sudden you feel a connection to them. And you don't want to wait a week. You're going to call the next day or the day after, and just, even if it's for 20 minutes.
Right.
We're all going to get older, and we're all going to, we're not getting away from it.
Right.
So.
And with Daily Call Sheet, you're right, we're all going to get older, but we have some people involved who are in their 30s because they're in another state and their partner or husband or wife is working all the time and they're maybe a struggling actor and they just want someone to talk to in their community.
Yeah.
And that's what is so special. This place here, it's a community. It's the crew. It's an extension of that set, that feeling you have. So we're about to turn 100 years old, Hawk. Not you. We, the MPTF.
I'm only 35. So I don't know.
Exactly. You've got a long time. What do you think the future holds for MPTF?
Well, if I have anything to do with it, which
You do.
hopefully I do,
You will.
it's going to continue to take care of everybody in the industry. And the fact that we are all living longer means that we need more help, more volunteers, more money, more everything to take care of our family, our movie and television family. And with all these new streaming services that are coming out, the amount of content, meaning with all this content, you need more directors, writers, producers, actors, grips, electricians. You need everybody. There's going to be a lot more of us. And so we have to find a way to communicate and market and publicize what we do here so that it's not just the home, it's all these other things that we've been talking about, so that we have enough money to really help everybody in the industry. And I think with Bob's help and hopefully with this board, we're going to get there.
Hawk, I want to take you back to a time that preceded me, just barely. You and I were both on the board at that time, and I don't want to go over rehearse all the circumstances, but there was a inflection point where we got a lot of people angry at us for making a decision that, given the information we had, we thought was the right decision for the fund. It turned out to be bad information, and we chose to go down a different path. But one of the things that I remember most vividly about that time was that there was one board member who was willing to go to any meeting with any guild or whatever and stare them down, look them straight in the eye, and advocate for MPTF, and that was you. What was it? What were those meetings like when you were going into SAG-AFTRA, or I guess
DGA.
maybe it was SAG at the time.
Yeah.
DGA, with a lot of longtime industry members, people you knew well, people who were probably supporters of MPTF, and you had to tell the story.
Well, I felt like I could tell it better than most of the board members because I came from DGA. I came from the set. So therefore, there's a lot of people in the industry. So, well, he's an agent. He doesn't really know what we do, or he's a lawyer, or he's an executive. He's never been, in that place. And I felt like I could tell it better than a lot of other people because they knew I came from there. So I've never, again, as I said before, I show up.
But that was, I mean, to me, I get that you show up and you do. You're just the most incredibly reliable, consistent, dependable. No kissing on the set. But that was more than showing up. That was real courage. That was real courage, because they were angry. They didn't understand. There wasn't anyone else coming from the board to do that. So that was something above and beyond the showing up.
I just, again, I feel like, if I take something on, I've got a responsibility to follow it through. And so I felt like, man, I've been in the Directors Guild since 1968. Most of the people I'm talking to probably weren't even, 1968, what is that? Were there talkies then?
Black and white was
they were
just
color, right?
fading out.
But I've always felt like I'm here to help, and that's my responsibility. So I learned it, as you might know, I've written my memoir, which is coming out November 12th. It's called Magic Time: My Life in Hollywood. I like the plug.
It's
Awesome.
brilliant. It's great.
But it's one of the things I talk about is having courage. And most people live in fear. And if you're afraid to taste a Brussels sprout, try it. If you don't like it, don't eat Brussels sprouts. But don't be afraid, because if you've only got a few minutes to live and you think to yourself, did I do what I wanted to do? No, I was afraid to try that, or I was afraid to try that. And I knew that I believe in the Motion Picture Fund, so the only way I could get all my pals at the DGA or SAG or at the Producers Guild, all of these places, was to actually tell them what I knew. Because kind of like when I was president of the Academy, I had the first general membership meeting in 85 years, because I wanted, and I'm happy that David Rubin's already sent out emails about telling everybody in our of our members what's going on. There's no hierarchy. When I'm a producer, I'm also, I don't mind getting coffee for people and craft service. I'll push a dolly if you need it. We're all in it together. And so I think that's why I went out and did what I did.
You really bring that phrase we say a lot here, we all play our part. You bring it to life. First of all, I'll tell those people, just roast those Brussels sprouts with a little bacon. You'll be fine. They're delicious. Don't be afraid. But I'd be remiss as the Chief Development Officer and with my head honcho sitting right next to me. You talk about service, you volunteer, but you also write checks to us. You support us financially, and it's fantastic. And we need everybody, whether it's $1 or $100 million. We need people to contribute. And yes, we want them to think it's an investment into possibly their future to keep this safety net going. But if someone should never need our services, help me out here. Help me fundraise here a little bit. Tell them your perspective. You might never need MPTF. We actually hope you don't, right? We hope you don't need our relief services. But if you don't, why should you still support this organization?
Because your wife, your child, the other actor that you're working with or the writer you're working with is going to need it. And wouldn't it be great if you felt good about the fact that, you're helping your fellow man? And in today's world, with where we are in the world, helping your fellow man and coming together as human beings, because with climate change, we don't know how long we've got. Mm-hmm. And helping your fellow man, helping your fellow woman is again one of the greatest things you can do. And you don't have to give a lot. Believe me, a pack of gum is $1.75. Mm-hmm. Well, buy one pack instead of two and give the $1.75 to the Motion Picture Fund. Mm-hmm.
A cappuccino's $8.
There you go. One less cappuccino.
One less cappuccino a week.
Sometimes $11. I don't know how people do it.
$11 for a cappuccino?
I bought an $11 cappuccino.
Well, wow. I mean, but
I had a shot of bourbon in it,
yeah,
but she's not mentioning.
When you go to the Dodger game, have one Dodger dog, not two, mm-hmm. and give the rest to the Motion Picture Home. You'll feel better because you won't have eaten two dogs.
Right.
But seriously, there's a lot of people out there who can give and should give, because they may have other charities that they're close to because of what happened to a loved one. But this one, again, takes care of everybody in your movie television family, and you ought to be giving.
Right, yeah.
I mean, the remarkable thing about, here we are sitting here a year and a half away from our 100th anniversary. 100 years ago, or thereabouts, 4 people, Mary Pickford, Charlie Chaplin, D.W. Griffith, Douglas Fairbanks, sat around and said, you know what, we should really start an organization in our industry where the people who are working should be so grateful that they put money into a can to support those who aren't working because they need some kind of safety net support. Early days, it was a new suit for an interview, or a toupee, or a set of dentures, or a month's rent in an apartment. And 100 years later, that same, and I think they were doing it in part because they were trying to build an industry. It was right after World War I. People were coming back from the war. This new industry had arrived in Hollywood from New Jersey. They wanted to build it up here, and they wanted to make sure that there was some stickiness to the labor force. So they, created this charity so that people could build a skill set and stay in the community. 100 years later, not much has changed. We need to continue to inspire those who work in the industry to give to those who are less fortunate, who've fallen on hard times, have run into some, illness, something has happened that has required them to need our help. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a child. So it's the same theme of we're family. We need to support each other, whether you're working on the set, not on the set. This is your work family. Yeah, there's a lot of other great causes that we can give to, and we do. All of us do. But where's your paycheck coming from? Where's your wealth coming from? It's from these people who have worked together to help you be successful.
And that's why he's a great CEO.
Mm-hmm. We talk about that often. There's a lot of organizations to support, and everyone should. No one ever says this should be the only philanthropic endeavor that you should be a part of. And you're a great example. This is not the only organization you support and are a part of, even outside of the industry. But I want to talk about our next gen group. We have a next gen board who they aspire to be Hawk Koch in many ways, not just being on our board. They want to have a career like you and our other board members. What can you tell? This is a tough industry that we all choose to be in, which is why we exist, because they could probably have more stable jobs elsewhere or make more money or see their family more, but this is from their heart. You lead with your heart. You speak with your heart. What would you tell these people coming up in the industry, our next gen board, the people even in year one? How can you inspire them to keep going, and that giving back is actually going to help them to accelerate their career?
I talk about 5 things that are very important to me. And I think that now being in my 70s...
No. You're not in your 70s.
Thank you. I get to, through experience, I get to say, hey, if you do all these things, I think you're going to be a happy human being. Number 1 is have fun. If you're not having fun, find something else to do. Mm-hmm. Number 2, work with people you like and be in a relationship with someone you like. If you're not happy, you got to get out. You got to go find something else to do and have fun. Have courage, as we talked about. Don't be afraid. Live your dream. And the last one, because it deals with this, do something that matters. Mm. Do something that matters. Okay? Being part of the Motion Picture Fund matters. And it's that simple. You can spend all your money at the Dodger game or, buying a painting or whatever. None of those things are going to matter to all of us. We are a community. There is a common bond of all of us that when you see what happened at the beginning of World War II and how this whole country got together, okay? When you see something like Charlottesville and you see how so many of us got together, we, the next gen, come out and see the home and actually see what's going on with the case committee and all of the other things. If they see, then they're going to have the same passion that I have.
You're right. The ones who come here, they get it. You just have to step foot on this campus, even though it's not all that we do. It's magical. Speaking of magic time.
Yeah, we see your galleys sitting on the desk here, magic time.
Gorgeous cover, by the way. Who is that?
Yeah, that was quite a moment because it was me speaking in front of everybody at the Dolby for the Oscars, and also, aside from that 3,500 people, there was about 1 billion people watching all over the world. But I wasn't nervous at all.
Not at all. So this comes out November
12th.
November 12th.
Right.
Great.
You can pre-order it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble now if you want.
Love it.
And we'll be having a book reading and interview on campus here, and I know there will be lots of them around town and around the city and around the New York and San Francisco.
San Francisco and at Pixar. Right. And just found out we're going to do the 92nd Street Y in New York, which is a big deal.
Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
Big deal. Going to do 90 minutes at SAG After Here, and we're going to do, Helen Mirren and I are going to do something in New York at SAG in New York.
Wow.
So, and then I'm going to be speaking at Pace, Columbia, the New School, and hopefully a couple of congregations, because there's a bar mitzvah that's very important in this book.
There is.
There's a bar mitzvah in the center of this book.
Yes.
Having had the great good fortune of reading an advanced copy, I can say that, right? I've said this to you, but I'll say it to everyone listening. It's a book that is incredibly rich in humanity. It's a great hero's journey of the hero that's sitting in the room with us today, who went through all sorts of interesting adventures and inner journeys to get to where he is today. It's chock full of great stories about the industry. And if that's the only thing you're interested in, there's some wonderful stories about film sets and things that go on there. So I encourage anyone who is planning to make a career in the industry, this is one of the must-read books to tell you what life is all about, and it ends up with the five keys that Hawk just mentioned before. And I think maybe the good place to end is do something that matters, because you are the case study in this industry of someone who loves the industry, grew up in it, and has done so much to make a difference. And I don't want to go through all of it, but the PGA mark at a time when 8 producers were producing movies, you and your folks really clarified what being a producer really means. And I think by doing that, the PGA grew from a small group to a very large group, because it gave it the legitimacy that it lacked before. The work you did for the Academy, we were so proud of you being the president. Wish that wasn't your 9th year being on the governors, that you had more time at it. Yeah, you termed out. Yeah. But some amazing achievements then. And then, the panorama and then the details, the incredible empathy and passion you bring to our case committee meetings, the kind of abiding mantra of, can't we do more for this person? Which is what you're always saying. You're always digging for, have we thought about everything? What else could this person need? What else could we do for this person? I mean, I think for all of us, it's just such an incredible example of someone who has come through, lots of ups and downs, and is really now focused on just being a difference maker in the lives of others. So I think Courtney and I are just incredibly proud to have spent this time with you.
Well, thank you. I'm speechless.
You know what? I want to piggyback on to what Bob's saying. I like to end things with a thank you. And I've only been here 10 months. Not a huge career in the industry. On paper, our board members, you especially, are intimidating in a good way. The length of your career, what you've done. Personally, being an incredible father and son, it's inspiring. It makes me emotional. I want to thank you for really opening your arms to me, to being such a great mentor. I'm sure you mentor many people and have had great mentors. I always say I'm okay, but I got great people around me. So thank you, Hawk.
Well, it's a pleasure to know you. And Bob, as I said before, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for you. So thanks, and friendships are important.
Yes,
really
they are.
important.
We're all pretty
The
lucky.
most important things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for doing this, and I can't wait to see where the fund's going to be for our 100th.
Yep.
Very exciting.
Us too.
Excellent. And I know, just to end it, wrap it up, as we were discussing this last subject and mentorship, our podcast producer,
Jen
Jen
Clymer.
Clymer
We
had
love
her
you.
hand up and was waving, so I know she feels the same way about you, as do so many others. So thank you.
As I said, I don't know what to say.
We love you. And we love Channel 22 and giving us this platform to talk to you and demystifying the incredible people on our board and really showing that human element. We're grateful.
You've been listening to MPTF's board meeting, hosted by President and CEO of MPTF, Bob Beitcher, and Chief Development Officer, Courteney Bailey, featuring filmmaker, entertainment industry leader, and MPTF board member, Hawk Koch. Produced by Jennifer Clymer, engineered and sound designed by Marcus Murrietta, and recorded in the sound booth at MPTF22 on the Wasserman campus in Woodland Hills. MPTF22 provides a creative platform for retired entertainment industry members, proving that creativity is ageless. To support all of the services MPTF provides to the entertainment industry, please donate at mptf.com or text MPTF to 41444.